Hey everyone, it's Devin Pinkston at Identity Insights Counseling in Grand Junction, Colorado. I will not give you a specific date of what day it is because sometimes I do not post my video on those exact dates. I will, however, say it is May 2018. So for those of you who are new to my channel, I tend to make videos about what I do for a living. So I am a mental health counselor and I specialize specifically in gender therapy. And I like to bring topics to you guys out there as viewers, just about different things that come up in my counseling practice with some of my clients who are LGBTQ, who are trans or non-binary, looking to make transitional steps for hormone replacement therapy or different surgeries, or just other interesting mental health things that might come up related to the LGBTQ community. So I had a request this week to do a video on the grieving process for family members and friends of people who are actually transitioning. And this question was brought to me by Pia, which I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So this is for you out there, Pia. So we'll talk a little bit about what that process looks like for family and friends, and then how you can make sure you're taking care of yourself as an ally out there, making sure that you're coping really well with the situation. So I normally will start with parents, because typically I do see parents who bring in their teenagers when I see more of the family dynamic and the family aspect. So when parents come in, their teenager has usually at this point told them, hey mom and dad, I no longer identify with my assigned sex or gender at birth. I actually identify this way and these are my name and pronouns. And for parents it's a, oh my gosh, what do I do? I don't know what are the next steps. I'm feeling a little scared and a little lost at sea. For parents, oftentimes, when their kids come out and say, hey, I'm trans or non-binary, all the expectations that parents might have had about their children can feel like it's just going by the wayside. Parents usually have expectations about maybe a lifestyle that their kids will live in the future, partners their kids might have, potentially where their kids might work and go to college, things of that nature. And that's not to say all parents have those expectations. Some don't at all. But a lot do. And it's really hard to challenge that and to feel like you've got to let that go when your child comes out. Because some of those things might no longer match up with what your child wants in life and what you feel like you want it for them. And that's okay that you're feeling that way, that you're feeling a little lost, that you're feeling like you don't know who your child is anymore. You're not the only one out there who's felt that way. There are a lot of parents who are experiencing that right now. And it's okay to have had those expectations. For siblings, it can feel very similar. I thought I had a brother, now I've got a sister. What does this mean? Or vice versa, I thought I had a sister, now I had a brother. And now I've got to refer to them by different names and pronouns. My biggest thing when I work with families is that we make sure we're working from a place of compromise. So if you feel like you're not ready to necessarily adopt pronouns or names right now that are different than what you're used to maybe work on, okay, well, what do you feel maybe comfortable with moving forward right now? So if name and pronouns, for instance, are something that you feel like you're not ready to take a step into, what about clothing? Maybe we need to go shopping at the mall so that we can get you some clothes that you feel comfortable wearing in public and that help you feel more like yourself. Great, that's a really great first step to have. And maybe down the road we can work on how to start using name and pronouns. If it's I'm comfortable using name and pronouns, but certain social situations I just don't know if I want to, okay, let's start with let's use the name and pronouns at home in a place where you already feel safe and it's a private place, and then slowly identify other public spaces where you can start using the name and pronouns. Another feeling during the grieving process are also feelings of anger that sometimes people have. It's okay to feel frustrated and angry with things. I will go ahead and say that. There is a quote out there, and I'm sure I'm not saying it may be exactly right, but the quote has typically been, you can control how you feel. And that's not necessarily my opinion. We can't control how we feel. What we can control, though, is how we respond to a situation. So, for instance, if you're feeling angry, you have a choice of punching a hole in the wall or maybe deciding to go for a walk. that is where you can make that decision. You might not be able to control the anger that you feel, but what you do with it, how you channel it, is all up to you. So know that it is okay to feel frustrated and angry. In grief, you do feel anger sometimes, feeling like you're losing a piece of somebody that you thought that you knew. And I will let you know that when somebody does come out and says, I'm looking to transition socially or medically, their personality is nothing that will change. So their sense of humor, likes, dislikes, who they are at the core, that's probably all going to stay the same. With the caveat that maybe likes and dislikes, maybe like in reference to music tastes or food, might change. But again, who that person is on the inside, at the core, their values, their morals, are probably going to stay the same. And most likely that's the case. So know that the person who is transitioning is not going to change. Just how you see them physically, how they present, how they express themselves, maybe mannerisms might be things that change, and how you identify them, privately and publicly. But it's okay to feel that frustration. I will say, for people who are going through that transition, if you have family members that are willing to work with you, and I will say again, if you have family members that are willing to work with you, try and express some patience with them. Know that although it might have taken you many years to come to this conclusion about yourself, and now you're feeling comfortable and ready to take those next steps, it's going to potentially take family and friends a little while to be at that place too. Now, I gave the caveat of family members willing to work with you because I have had people come into my office and say, Devin, I've tried to talk to my family and they were mean, they, disowned me. I'm feeling like I'm not ready to reapproach it, or I just don't want to approach that situation anymore. I don't want anything to do with my family. Understandable. I'm not trying to tell you out there to, try and rekindle anything, or that you need to approach from a different place with people that you've already tried to establish that connection with. Just with people who are willing to say, I'm not where you are right now, but I want to work towards that place. I want to get there eventually. Those are the people that you want to really work with, and know it's going to take a minute for them to get there. Grief, like any other grief, whether it's we've lost somebody in life, we've lost a job, whatever it might be, we're feeling sad about a relationship, we're going to go through stages, and not everyone goes through all of the stages. I'm trying to remember all the stages, and I think I'm going to forget some of the stages of grief right now, but that's okay. But some of the main ones include sadness, depression, being in denial about what's going on, feeling anger, feeling like you're working towards acceptance. And I feel like I missed a couple in there, but those are some of the main stages of grief. And I can find an article to post about stages of grief as well later on, and I'm sure you out there can Google them too. But know that those are some typical ones that you might go through. And grief is not a step-by-step process. I equate it more to a star, where you just kind of bounce around of accepting one day, sad the next, feeling in denial, back to sad. Okay, I'm feeling something new now, and it's just going to be a bounce around in that for a minute. And there's no specific time frame to how long you're going to experience that grief. Just if you're experiencing any issues with complicated grief, meaning you feel like it's interfering with your ability to function day-to-day life, or it's greatly impacting your mood, or you're having bouts of crying spells, things like that, that's when you want to pay more attention to that and maybe get that looked into a little bit more with a mental health professional, or potentially even your local doctor, whether it be a psychiatrist or sometimes starting with your primary care. But ways that you want to make sure that you're coping with your grief would be making sure that you're taking care of yourself in the normal ways that you would when you're experiencing grief for any other situation. So are you still making sure that you're doing just basic day-to-day functions? For instance, are you still eating properly? Are you still taking a shower every day? Are you still going to work if you work, or going to school? Are you still sleeping okay? Making sure that you're paying attention to those pillars first. I usually check in with my clients on just the basic day-to-day life skills before we talk about what's going on with the thought processes, with the behaviors. Because if we're not doing those day-to-day skills, or those have changed, that's where we need to start. If you're not eating right because you're feeling sad about somebody transitioning, feeling like you're losing a part of that person, or feeling in denial, well, okay, maybe we need to really focus on diet right now. Maybe we need to focus in on how you can get more sleep. And then making sure you're paying attention to your other needs. Like, are you watching your favorite movie when you're feeling sad? Are you still going out and exercising? Are you still interacting with people, with friends, with support networks? And then speaking of support, if you feel like you don't know where to start or don't have support on your own as the family member or friend, finding local places, local support networks. Always start with local LGBTQ and ally support groups. PFLAG is always one I advocate for because there are so many chapters across the country in different cities, different states. So PFLAG stands for Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. We have a local chapter here in Grand Junction. For those who are interested, who might live on the western slope of Colorado, but even if you don't, just Googling PFLAG. You can go to their national website page and there's a Find a Chapter button. Great place because that is a community specifically for allies, so people who are supportive but not directly identifying as LGBTQ. Even finding LGBTQ groups just to kind of get resources on what do you feel that you have needed in the past from family or friends? What can I do to be supportive for that person in my life? Talking to local mental health counselors can also be another great way. I advocate for LGBTQ friendly counselors, gender therapists, or just people who are knowledgeable and friendly to the community, because they're going to be the ones who will know best what specific issues you're going through, some maybe nuances to what that person transitioning is going through, but you can always also talk to general mental health counselors as well. So looking in your local Psychology Today listings online, I think sometimes they've got like local numbers that you can call. We've got like I think it's a 211 number here. Don't quote me on that. But it's a local number that you can call, like a directory that keeps a listing of anything and everything that you would look for. So you can say, I need a therapist, call that number. You'll get the listing of who's available to talk to. And again, like I said, just making sure you're taking care of yourself in general and that you're working with the person who is transitioning. It's a process, I know. It's, the grief that you might feel, the denial potentially, the anger about a situation. All normal. It's all okay. Know that it's okay and know that other people have experienced this. What you do with that and those feelings are different and are completely up to you. So hopefully this video was informative for the allies out there who've got people transitioning in their lives. If you have some specific questions about the grieving process, feel free to drop me a comment and let me know, and I'd be happy to do any follow-up videos on this topic in particular, or if you yourself have gone through a grieving process with somebody who has transitioned, let me know as well if you would like to speak on that, or again, if you want me to elaborate more on a specific topic. Alright guys, so I will leave you my information at the end of the video. So if you are in Colorado, I will say, and specifically on the Western Slope or across the state, and you're interested in services for gender therapy or just general mental health, feel free to reach out to me. On my website there is a specific box that you can go to that says you can contact me for a private message or 20-minute consultation. I'd be happy to get you set up with that. If you're in a different area of Colorado, I do offer video services so we can connect. I unfortunately cannot see anyone who does not have a residence in Colorado, as I've had a couple people reach out to me in different states. Would love to work with you guys out there. But I'm just not licensed in other states, so legally I have to only counsel people here in Colorado. But again, my website, if you're interested in learning more about my services, keeping up with my blog, you can just go to www.devonpinkston.com. And then another last little bit I'll say is this Saturday, the 12th, I'm having an AMA topic discussion. So AMA is an Ask Me Anything event. So you can go to AMAFeed, FEED.com, and you look under the hashtag LGBTQ AMA, and you will find my information there, and I'm answering questions about sex therapy, gender therapy, monogamous, non-monogamous relationships, all that good stuff. So please join me, submit questions. You can still submit them now. If it's after Saturday the 12th of May, I don't think I'll be able to accept any more questions, but I will be accepting questions that day, so feel free to do that. Alright everyone, take care, and I will see you next time for another video topic.